Thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you for letting me take part today. I was very proud to be a Prime Minister at the Paris COP, and I'm proud to be here as Foreign Secretary at the Dubai COP. And I hope that this COP is every bit as impactful, every bit as epoch-making as that Paris COP was. And I know I'm biased because he's my king, but I think King Charles made a great speech and launched things so well today. Not just a great king for my country, but a great spokesman for our planet. Now, to solve this problem, we're going to need commitment. We're going to need commitment to working in partnership with Africa. That is something I've always shown. That is why aid reached record levels under my government, why investment, why trade, why joint problem solving, why the introduction of green finance, all those things happened. And I'm as committed today to working in partnership with African countries as I was then. But it also requires commitment to this issue of adaptation. And Bill Gates put it so well. It's sometimes been seen as the poor relation, as the orphan child of mitigation. But in Africa today, it's not about what might be necessary in the future. It's about what's necessary now. Crops are failing now. Soil is being ruined now. Populations are moving now. Farmers are struggling now. Water is short now. That's why adaptation is so essential, and that's why this part of COP is so important. Now, alongside commitment, it requires cash. I pay tribute to my colleague, Mark Rutte, not only one of the longest-serving prime ministers in Europe, but also one of the tallest and one of the best. I pay tribute to him because he has fulfilled what was promised at Glasgow in terms of doubling the money going into adaptation. The United Kingdom is going further. We were spending £500 million in 2019, and by 2025 we will be spending £1.5 billion on adaptation. That is money that will go 200 million to the African Development Bank, 20 million to the Africa Acceleration Adaptation Partnership, the AAAP, and that is money that will go into vital schemes like the one that links climate information so that farmers can see the difficult weather conditions that are coming. But as well as this cash and this commitment, I think there are three other points that I hope people can take into account. When you're Prime Minister, you have no time to think. When you stop being Prime Minister, you have plenty of time to think, and these are reflected in some of the thoughts that I've had. The first is scale. I will always argue for aid. I think it is essential in our world that rich countries see it as a moral mission, and that is why it's so important. But we know it is never going to be enough. If we're going to scale up, we've got to use all the resources at our disposal. And today we are leaving money on the table because the multilateral development banks that do a brilliant job, if we expanded their balance sheet, if we changed some of the rules, there is a 400 billion benefit of extra money that can be invested in places around Africa, around the world, to deal with issues like adaptation. It's already happening. 40 billion has been released from the World Bank, but with a real effort, every multilateral development bank can do better. So foreign secretaries and prime ministers need to talk to their finance ministers and need to work with those multilateral development banks to put that cash on the table. That's one, scale. Two is method. I'm a big supporter of aid. I proved that as Prime Minister. But we have to change the way that we do development. It's no longer any good just to turn up and try and have some donor-recipient relationship. On too many occasions, aid and assistance has been something that has been done to other countries rather than with other countries. We know what it's like. We have these conferences, we come up with a set of targets, we come up with a set of proposals, and then we hand them down like tablets of stone for other countries to follow. That doesn't work. It just sets them up to fail. Instead, what we've got to be doing is working with countries, asking them what is their vision for the adaptation they need. What's the pathway they want to take? What mixture of technology do they want to use to have a greener future, and help them to deliver that narrative, that story for their government to tell their people, so people can feel it's my plan, it's an African plan, it's not a handed-down plan, and it's a plan that we want to see happen. Third point, and I think this is absolutely vital, simplicity of implementation. I've only been at this COP for about 48 hours, and I've already lost count of the times that countries and their representatives have said to me, the money you say is available, the programs you set up, I find it impossible to get hold of the money and spend it on the schemes that I need in my country. And we're asking countries often with a limited capacity to access incredibly bureaucratic and complicated sets of money. We've got to make it simpler. I don't want to come back to another COP in another few years and find that lots of great announcements were made, lots of great schemes were put in place, but countries couldn't access and spend the money on the adaptation they need. Those are the three things I would ask that we get right. Scale up, implement it properly, and make sure you do it in partnership, not in a top-down model. These are not impossible things, and the money we need is not impossible. These are doable. So let us get on and do it. Thank you.